this is Payal ma'am here. Today we are going to start the second chapter of your book, which is food. So, we all know that all living organisms need food to grow and to survive. Food provides the energy needed by living beings to do work. It also protects us from different diseases and keeps us fit and healthy. So, all these things I hope you already know. Food gives us energy. Okay, so it's the energy that is needed to do the work. It protects us from various diseases because there are some protective foods which protects us from various diseases and keeps us fit and healthy. And it is the main source that sustains and nourishes life, means it helps us to live and to nourish our life. Now you already know that green plants, they make their own food. They are known as the autotrophs. So they are capable of making their own food by the process of photosynthesis. Now you already remember what are the raw materials needed for it. So as you can see here in the diagram, carbon dioxide and water, when they combine together in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, it changes into glucose, which is the food of the plant, and it releases oxygen. Animals, on the other hand, since we are heterotrophs, we or the human beings are dependent on the plants for their food. Now, sources of food. So, we get food either from plants or animals or their products. So, you already know these things. I hope you have understood this activity also. See, certain pictures of food are given over here. Now you are supposed to classify them into food from plants and food from animals. Now the first thing is the apple. Now apple, you already know that we obtain this from the plants. Similarly, the eggs from the animals. Cheese, it's a animal product. Nuts, it's a plant product. Spices we get from the plants. Pulses from plants. Honey from honeybees. Okay, so it's an animal product. Vegetables from the plants. Milk from animals. Yogurt is also from animals. Ice cream from animals. And wheat and rice from plants. So, this is how you are going to categorize them. Okay, now next we will proceed on with food from plants. So we already know this, that plants make their own food by utilizing the energy of the sun. So food is prepared by the green leaves of the plant. It is then stored in different parts of the plants. Okay, so after preparation of the food, the plant stores it in the various parts. Okay, some store them in their roots. Okay, some store them in their fruits, like so on. Human beings and some animals eat these plants in one form or the other. Like the cereal grains, wheat, rice, maize, millets. Now, millets are of jowar and bajra, are important source of energy. Okay, so mostly we eat the wheat in the form of chapati. Rice also we cook and eat almost every day. Maize, okay, millets, jawar, bajra. So these are mostly eaten by the areas which are struck by drought. Okay, mostly in Rajasthan and all areas, people generally consume millets as their main part of cereals. Now, these constitute major component of our food, right? So, in our meals, what we see is mostly we consume the cereals. Okay, we eat more chapati than the dal or the vegetables. Okay, we eat more rice as compared to the dal or the vegetables. We can just have one bowl of dal or one bowl of vegetables, but you are going to take at least one big bowl of rice for yourself, right? So that's why it's a major component of our food. Now, pulses like the green gram or the moong, gram or the chana, black gram or the urad, kidney beans or rajma, split red gram or the arhar, red lentil or the masoor, and soya bean or the bhatma are some of the important sources of proteins in our diet. So you already know this, that pulses give us protein. Like the cereals give us carbohydrate, the pulses give us proteins. Now, so both the pulses and cereals, they are obtained from the plants. Now, fruits like mango, apple, banana, orange, watermelon, and melon are good sources of nutrients. Nutrients like vitamins and minerals. So, all these fruits also we obtain from the plants. Green leafy vegetables like spinach, mustard, fenugreek, and many other vegetables like radish. Okay, it's not radish, it's radish, ladyfinger, turnip, carrot, brinjal, and potato are all obtained from the plants. So all the vegetables, okay, and the fruits, they are all obtained from the plants. We use oils like mustard oil, sesame oil, sunflower oil, groundnut oil, and coconut oil to cook our food. So various oils are also obtained from the plants, mostly from the seeds. Okay, the seeds are ground and from them the oil is extracted. Okay, and that oil is being used by us for cooking. So these all are oils are all obtained from the plants and they are sources of fats. Now spices like cumin or jeera, turmeric or haldi, black pepper or kali mirch, cardamom or elaichi, chili or mirch, carom seeds or ajwain, and clove or long give flavors to our food and make it tasty. So you must have already come across these spices in your local languages or vernacular languages. But you need to remember what these are called in English also. Okay, so all the spices are also obtained from the plants. Now, the second category are the food from the animals. So, animals also are an important source of our food. We get the following food items from the animals. For example, milk. Now, milk is considered a complete food. Okay, just you must have already known this fact that the babies they consume just milk. Okay, why? Because milk is a complete food. Except a few vitamins, you obtain most of the nutrients from the milk. So, milk is considered a complete food. A baby eats nothing but just drinks milk. So, you can imagine all the nutrients are provided with just this milk. So, milk giving animals are called milch animals. Remember this. Cows and buffaloes are two main milch animals. Goats and camels also give us milk. Now, people in Rajasthan and all they consume the milk obtained from the camels. Now, eggs. Eggs are also animal products. So, hens, ducks, and fowls they lay eggs. These birds are also known as poultry birds. So, you already know this term, I hope, poultry birds. So, their eggs are a rich source of proteins and vitamins and are eaten by many of us. So, Sunday ho ya Monday, roz khai ande. Okay, now next are the meat. So, meat is also obtained from the animals like the fish, goat, sheep, pig, and chicken. These are the important sources of meat. Prawns, crabs, and shrimps constitute the seafood. All these are also good sources of proteins. So, if you want to obtain, if you like seafood, you can uh, definitely try these because they are a rich source of iodine also, and apart from that, they are a good sources of proteins. Now, have you ever noticed honeybees hovering over the flowers? Hovering means they are constantly moving over the flowers. They collect nectar from the flowers. Now, nectar is what? It's a juice which is found in the flowers. Now, they make a beehive in which they live and store the nectar. So, what the honeybees do? They collect this nectar and they make a beehive in which they live and they store this, which are collected from the flowers as honey. Okay, so this is the honey that we use in our food and in several medicines. Now, this honey is of great medicinal value to us apart from its nutritional value. Now, food and its components. So, food has got the major nutrients in it, which are the carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, and minerals. Okay, these are also called as nutrients. Now, roughage. Roughage is a dietary fiber, and water are also important components of our food. Now, we won't call them as nutrients. Okay, these are not important components of food as such. Okay, means these cannot be classified under nutrients, but then these are also important for our survival. So, we will count them also. Now, different food items are classified into the following categories based on the nutrients present in them and their functions in our life. Now, there are three main categories of food. Now, these are the energy giving foods, which are obtained from the carbohydrates and fats. So, carbohydrates and fats are the energy giving foods. Bodybuilding foods are the proteins, and protective foods are the vitamins and minerals. Okay, now energy giving foods, as the name suggests, energy giving foods means these give us energy. Okay, energy to do the various work. Now, carbohydrates give us less energy as compared to fats. But fats take a longer time to get burnt and give us energy. The excess of the fat gets stored in our skin. That's why it is more advisable to consume more of carbohydrates than fats. Although carbohydrates give us less energy, but they can give us energy at a faster rate as compared to the fats. Now, bodybuilding foods, which are the proteins. So, proteins are needed for building our bodies. Okay, so you must have seen the people going to gym and all, they consume less of carbohydrates and more of protein rich food. Okay, they take even protein supplements and all. So, proteins are required for our bodybuilding. Now, protective foods. Now, protective foods means these protect us from the various diseases. Okay, so vitamins and minerals are going to save us or protect us from various diseases. Okay, so the carbohydrates are made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. In our food, these are present in the form of sugar and starch. So, what are the carbohydrates made up of? They are made up of three elements: carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So, in our food, they are present in which form? In sugar or in the form of starch. Carbohydrates in our diet are source of energy. So, as we already know, these are energy giving foods, so we get energy from them. Fruits like mango, banana, lychee, melon, etc. are rich in sugar. Cereals like wheat, rice and maize are rich sources of starch. So fruits are rich source of sugar and the cereals are rich source of starch. Some vegetables like potato and sweet potato also contain starch in them. Now, if we want to test the presence of carbohydrates in food that we consume, then we need to follow some procedures. Now, carbohydrates test for starch and sugar are going to be different. So, we will first see the test for the presence of glucose. For this, we would need a special chemical called as Benedict's reagent. Now, Benedict's reagent is a blue colored chemical like this, which is used for the test of glucose. This type of tests are performed even for the diagnosis of diabetes. A person suffering from diabetes will have glucose present in both their blood as well as the urine samples. So let us see how this test is performed. So for this, we would need some water, milk, a steel vessel, glucose powder. Now this glucose powder is the normal Glucon-D that you drink in the summers. Salt, ruler, straw, an induction stove, insulation tape, test tubes, Benedict's reagent, dropper, scissor and a sketch pen. Now we are going to make a spatula or a spoon with which we are going to take equal amounts of the sample to be tested. So for this, we will cut the straw of about 1 centimeter. Then on one side, we will seal it with a tape so that our sample doesn't fall out. So now we will first take glucose powder with a spatula. which would equal to about 0.4 grams in the first test tube. Now we will fill about 2 ml of water in it to make a solution. We'll shake it well to dissolve it completely. Similarly, in the second test tube, we will take about the same 0.4 gram of salt and then add 2 ml of water to make a salt solution, and then shake it well to dissolve it. In the last test tube, we will take some milk. Now, milk is already liquid, so we wouldn't add water in it. Now, we will add about 20 drops of Benedict's reagent in each of these test tubes. Now we will shake them well so that it mixes the reagent properly. Now observe the color of each of these samples. They have got the blue color of the Benedict's reagent. Now we will boil water in a container on the induction stove. After the water begins to boil, we will put the first test tube with glucose solution and we will boil it for about 5 to 10 minutes. Now you understood why we have taken those ice cream sticks? So these are meant for holding the tubes while these test tubes are being dipped in the boiling water. So slowly we will observe that the color changes from blue to dark orange, which shows the presence of glucose in it. So the urine sample of a diabetic person will show the same response to this test. Okay, one thing I want to tell you over here is about the water bath. Now, since these test tubes are dipped in the water here, so it appears as if these test tubes are bathing in the water to react with the reagent. So this usually in the chemistry lab we call it as the water bath. Now we are going to repeat the same with the salt solution. So this gives a negative response to the test. As you can see, there is no color change. It remains the same blue before and after. So glucose is obviously absent here. Next, we are taking the milk and following the same steps. Now we notice that it turns bright yellow. So this again shows that glucose is present in it. Now, on the basis of the color change, we can judge or manipulate the amount of glucose or the sugar in the samples. So, this is the color chart here. We are going to refer to this. If we get a blue color, then the solution doesn't have glucose or sugar at all. If it gives a green solution, then glucose is present in a very trace amount. And if we get a green precipitate, then it contains very low concentration of sugar. Now, PPT here means precipitate. Now, what is a precipitate? Precipitate is an insoluble solid substance which is formed in the solution after the reaction takes place. Okay, so this is an insoluble solid which will either float in the solution or it will sink at the bottom after the reaction ends. So now here whatever precipitates we are getting, they are colorful and each of these color indicates something. So if it shows a green color precipitate, then this shows that the glucose concentration is very low in that sample which we have tested. Similarly, if it turns yellow, then it shows a low concentration of glucose in it. And if it turns orange or red, then it shows a very moderate or a high concentration of glucose respectively. So I hope this is clear to you. Now to test starch, we will use potatoes. Since potatoes have a high amount of starch in it, so we will use them for this test. Apart from this, we will require iodine, a dropper and a test tube. We need to first crush the potatoes. Then we will put a little of these crushed potatoes in a test tube. Now, with the help of a dropper, we will add a few drops of iodine into the test tube. Now, iodine is usually brownish in color, but as soon as we add it into the starch, it turns bluish. So, here this shows the presence of starch in the crushed potatoes. Fats are also made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Just like the carbohydrates, fats are also made up of three elements: carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. However, they contain much less oxygen as compared to the carbohydrates. That's the difference. Okay, who has which of the component has less oxygen? So it is the fats. They provide more than double the amount of energy provided by the same weight of carbohydrates. So, fats, as I already told you in the beginning, they give us more energy as compared to the carbohydrates. Vitamin A and vitamin D are soluble in fats. They are fat soluble vitamins. Hence, fats are essential for their absorption in our body. So, if you just have vitamin A and vitamin D and you don't have fats in your body, then these vitamins cannot be utilized by our body. Only if there is fats in our body, then only these vitamins will get dissolved in it. Okay, so that's why we require fats for the absorption of vitamin A and vitamin D. Fats can be obtained from plant as well as from the animal sources. Vegetable oils like mustard oil, coconut oil, and groundnut oil are obtained from the plants. Dry fruits and nuts are also rich sources of fat. Milk and milk products such as butter, ghee, along with meat, fish, and eggs are sources of fats that are obtained from the animals. So you're going to remember which are the products which are obtained from the plants which give us fats, and which are the products which we get from the animals that give us fats. Okay. Now, for the test of fats, we would need some groundnuts and a white paper. We need first crush the groundnuts and then put it on a paper. Now, slowly we will rub the paper over these crushed groundnuts. Now, after doing this, we will put back the crushed groundnuts in the china dish. On observing the paper, we will see some oil traces on it, which has turned the paper translucent. So, this confirms the presence of fats in the groundnuts. Proteins are made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. So, these are made up of mainly four elements. Okay, what are those? Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and one more thing is added here, nitrogen. And a small quantity of both sulfur and phosphorus. So, proteins help in building up our developing tissues of a growing child. Okay, so a baby, it grows up the muscles. Okay, it develops more proteins. Okay, in our body. So, for those, we require the protein supplements which we get from the pulses. They also take care of the wear and tear of the body tissues at all ages. So, every now and then our skin is getting scrapped. Okay, our nails are getting broken. Okay, new nail is formed, new skin cells are formed. So, for all this, we require certain amount of protein. For making up the hormones, for making up enzymes in our body, also we require proteins. Okay, and apart from that, uh, proteins are also used for building our bodies. Now, in order to test proteins, we would need some split chickpeas or chana dal, and we need to first make it a powder. The powdered form of chana dal is also called as besan. So what we will do is we will first dissolve a little amount of besan in a test tube containing water. We will dissolve it well, and in this we will add a few drops of nitric acid. We will see that the solution turns yellowish, indicating the presence of proteins in it. So I hope all these tests are clear to you. Thank you.